Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this question? What if one of the most powerful foods for protecting your body against disease wasn't expensive, wasn't exotic, and wasn't hidden inside some complicated supplement stack? What if it was sitting quietly in the produce aisle? And what if I told you this food may help your body repair DNA damage, reduce inflammation, support detoxification, and create an environment where abnormal cells struggle to survive? Because here's something most people never hear. Cancer doesn't begin overnight. Long before a diagnosis, long before symptoms, your body is constantly making decisions at the cellular level. Every single day, cells are being damaged, repaired, replaced, or removed. And one of the biggest factors influencing that process is something you control multiple times a day. Your food. Now let me be very clear. No single food cures cancer. Anyone telling you that is oversimplifying biology. But what the research does show is something incredibly important. Certain foods can activate defense systems inside your body that influence inflammation, detoxification, oxidative stress, blood vessel formation, immune surveillance, and even how damaged cells are handled. And among the most powerful foods researchers continue to study, broccoli sprouts, specifically a natural plant compound called sulforaphane. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every day your DNA takes damage. Pollution, poor sleep, stress hormones, processed foods, excess sugar, smoking, environmental toxins. Even normal metabolism creates wear and tear. Think of your DNA like the instruction manual for your body. Now imagine spilling coffee on that manual every single day. At first, maybe no big deal. But over time, the pages become harder to read. Instructions become distorted. Cells stop behaving normally. That's where your body's repair systems come in. You already have an internal repair team working around the clock, repairing damaged DNA, neutralizing toxins, and removing cells that no longer belong. The problem? Modern lifestyles overload that system. Too much inflammation, too much insulin, too much oxidative stress, too little recovery. And this is where foods rich in sulforaphane become fascinating. Research suggests sulforaphane may activate powerful protective pathways in the body, including detoxification enzymes and antioxidant systems that help protect cells from damage and influence how abnormal cells behave. Scientists are even studying how it affects inflammation, cellular signaling, and cancer-related pathways. But here's the part most people completely miss. It's not just about eating broccoli. It's about understanding how to unlock its medicinal chemistry in a way that your body can actually use. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 science-backed reasons this food may be one of the smartest daily additions for healthy aging and cancer prevention. The biggest mistake people make when preparing it, why timing and preparation matter more than most realize, and how to actually use this information in a practical, sustainable way. Because when you understand how your biology works, food stops being calories and starts becoming information for your cells. And if you care about longevity, energy, healthy aging, and protecting your future health naturally, make sure you stay until the end, because one simple adjustment could completely change how this food works inside your body. And if you value science-based practical health strategies like this, consider subscribing, because every day we break down the hidden physiology behind better metabolism, better energy, and a longer, healthier life. Let's start with something that may completely change the way you think about health. Most people believe disease happens suddenly. One day you're healthy. The next day something goes wrong. But biology doesn't work like that. Disease is usually a slow process, one that begins quietly, long before symptoms appear. And one of the earliest places that process begins is at the level of your DNA. Now let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body is a massive city. Inside that city are trillions of factories, your cells. Every single factory runs from an instruction manual. That manual tells the cell when to grow, when to repair itself, when to make energy, and importantly, when to shut down if something goes wrong. That instruction manual is your DNA. The problem? That manual takes damage every single day. And honestly, this part surprises a lot of people. You don't need smoking or toxic chemicals for DNA damage to happen. Even normal metabolism creates wear and tear. Every time your body turns food into energy, it naturally produces unstable molecules called free radicals. Add in poor sleep, excess sugar, chronic stress, air pollution, processed food, alcohol, lack of movement. And over time, the burden on your cells increases dramatically. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When inflammation stays high and blood sugar spikes repeatedly, oxidative stress increases. Think of oxidative stress like tiny sparks flying inside a machine. A few sparks? No problem. But thousands of sparks every day? Eventually, wires begin to burn. That's what cellular damage looks like. Now, here's the good news. Your body is not fragile. In fact, your body is incredibly intelligent. You already have DNA repair systems working 24 hours a day. You have detoxification enzymes, antioxidant defense systems, immune surveillance, cellular cleanup processes. Your body is constantly scanning for damaged cells and deciding, can this be repaired or does it need to be removed? This is one reason lifestyle matters so much, because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is reducing unnecessary damage while supporting your body's repair systems. And this is where broccoli sprouts become especially interesting. Broccoli sprouts contain extremely high concentrations of a plant compound called sulforaphane, often far higher than mature broccoli itself. What the research shows is that sulforaphane appears to activate a master protective pathway in the body called NRF2. You don't need to remember the scientific name. Just think of it as your body's internal defense switch. When activated, this system helps increase antioxidant activity, supports detoxification enzymes, and improves the body's resilience against oxidative stress. Researchers are studying how this may influence DNA protection and cellular health over time. In simple terms, sulforaphane doesn't act like a bandage. It acts more like a coach. Instead of doing the work for your body, it appears to help your body strengthen its own defenses. That distinction matters, because long-term health is not about finding one magic bullet. It's about creating an internal environment where healthy cells thrive and damaged cells are less likely to survive. Now, before you start thinking, okay, I'll just eat broccoli every now and then, there's an important catch. And this next part is where most people unknowingly lose the majority of the benefit. Because when it comes to sulforaphane, preparation changes everything. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing, because every day we break down the science of metabolism, longevity, and natural health in ways you can actually use in real life. And next, I'm going to show you why many people are accidentally destroying the very compound they're trying to get, and how one small change in preparation can dramatically increase the benefit. Now, we need to talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make with healthy food, because this may surprise you. You can eat broccoli regularly and still miss most of the benefit. Why? Because when it comes to sulforaphane, how you prepare the food matters just as much as whether you eat it. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of broccoli sprouts like a locked medicine cabinet. Inside the cabinet is the beneficial compound sulforaphane, but the cabinet is locked. To unlock it, your body needs a key. That key is an enzyme called myrosinase. And here's the fascinating part. In broccoli sprouts and cruciferous vegetables, sulforaphane doesn't actually exist in large amounts right away. Instead, the plant stores something called glucoraphanin, the inactive form. When the plant is chopped, chewed, crushed, or damaged, myrosinase activates and converts glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. In simple terms, you have to activate the food. Here's the problem. Heat can destroy much of this enzyme, which means overcooking broccoli may dramatically reduce sulforaphane production. This is one reason researchers are especially interested in broccoli sprouts. Young sprouts can contain dramatically higher levels of glucoraphanin compared with mature broccoli, making them an especially concentrated source when prepared properly. So what's the practical takeaway? If you're eating broccoli sprouts, raw is usually best. Add them to salads, eggs, smoothies, wraps, soups after cooking, not during. But what if you prefer cooked broccoli? Good news. You do not need to eat everything raw. Research suggests lightly steaming broccoli for a short period may preserve more beneficial activity than boiling or overcooking. And here's a simple trick almost nobody talks about. If broccoli has been heavily cooked, adding foods naturally rich in myrosinase may help restore some sulforaphane formation. Foods like mustard seeds, radishes, arugula, wasabi, daikon radish. Even a pinch of mustard powder added after cooking may help. Think of it like replacing the missing key. This is one of those small details that creates a big difference over time. Because healthy eating isn't just about calories, it's about chemistry. Food is information, and sometimes one tiny preparation mistake changes the message your body receives. Now, there's another reason this matters that goes beyond DNA protection. Because here's what most people don't realize. Inflammation is one of the biggest hidden drivers behind accelerated aging and disease. Not the kind of inflammation you notice after twisting an ankle. I'm talking about the silent, low-grade inflammation quietly happening inside the body, the kind linked to insulin resistance, fatigue, brain fog, poor recovery, weight gain, and an internal environment where abnormal cells may have a better chance to survive. What the research shows is that sulforaphane appears to influence inflammatory signaling pathways in ways that may help the body regulate cellular stress and immune responses. And this matters more than most people think, because many people focus only on removing disease. But true health begins by changing the environment inside the body. Remember this: seeds grow best in certain soil, and unhealthy cells thrive best in certain biological environments. Your job is to improve the soil. Better sleep, lower inflammation, healthier blood sugar, movement, and foods that support your body's repair systems instead of overwhelming them. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing, because every day we translate complex physiology into practical strategies you can actually use. Next, we're going to connect something most people never connect: why blood sugar and insulin may influence the very environment where disease either struggles or gains momentum. Now, this is where the conversation becomes much bigger than broccoli sprouts. Because if you truly want to understand how to create a healthier internal environment, we need to talk about insulin. And this may be one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern health. Most people think insulin is only about diabetes, but insulin affects far more than blood sugar. It influences inflammation, fat storage, hormones, energy, aging, and importantly, the biological environment your cells live in every single day. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every time you eat, especially refined carbohydrates and sugar, blood glucose rises. In response, your pancreas releases insulin. Think of insulin as a delivery driver. Its job is to move glucose out of the bloodstream and into cells for energy. That's normal. That's healthy. The problem begins when insulin stays elevated all the time. Too many processed foods, too many blood sugar spikes, too little movement, too much snacking, too little sleep. Over time, cells become less responsive, a condition called insulin resistance. Now imagine someone knocking on your door. At first you hear them immediately, but if they knock nonstop every hour of every day, eventually you tune them out. That's essentially what happens with insulin resistance. The body starts ignoring the signal, so the pancreas produces even more insulin. And this matters because chronically elevated insulin is associated with inflammation and metabolic dysfunction, conditions that may create a more favorable environment for disease over time. Let me be very careful here. Cancer is incredibly complex. No one food causes it. No one food prevents it. But what research increasingly suggests is that metabolic health matters. And an internal environment characterized by high inflammation, poor glucose control, and chronic stress appears less favorable for long-term cellular health. This is one reason many longevity researchers focus on blood sugar stability, because protecting your metabolism may also help protect your future health. And this is where people often misunderstand broccoli sprouts. They're not magic. They're support. Think of sulforaphane like part of a larger health team. You still need quality sleep, protein for repair, exercise for insulin sensitivity, stress management, whole foods, stable blood sugar, because even the best food struggles to help in an environment constantly flooded with inflammation. Here's a practical protocol I often recommend. Start by building meals that naturally lower blood sugar spikes. Prioritize protein first, add healthy fats. Eat fiber-rich vegetables. Reduce ultra-processed foods. Avoid grazing all day if possible. Try leaving 12 hours between dinner and breakfast a few days each week to support metabolic flexibility. And pair broccoli sprouts with metabolically healthy meals. For example, eggs with avocado and broccoli sprouts, a salmon salad topped with sprouts, a vegetable omelet with mustard greens, even adding sprouts to soups after cooking. Simple, sustainable, effective, because consistency beats intensity every single time. And here's something important to remember. You do not need perfection. You need repetition. The body changes when healthy inputs become habits. If this is helping you understand your health in a clearer way, consider subscribing, because every day we unpack the physiology behind better energy, fat burning, healthy aging, and disease prevention. Now, next we need to talk about something most people completely overlook: how inflammation quietly shapes the environment inside your body, and why lowering it may be one of the most powerful anti-aging strategies you can use. Let's talk about something happening inside your body right now, even if you feel perfectly healthy. Inflammation. Now, before you think, I don't have inflammation, nothing hurts, let me explain something important. There are actually two very different kinds of inflammation. The first is acute inflammation. This is the helpful kind. You cut your finger, your immune system responds. Healing happens. Problem solved. That's a healthy response. But the second kind, this is where trouble begins. Chronic low-grade inflammation, and this is the kind most people never notice. No dramatic symptoms, no flashing warning lights, just subtle signals over time. Fatigue, brain fog, joint stiffness, slow recovery, weight gain, poor sleep, blood sugar issues, and underneath all of that, a biological environment under constant stress. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine a house fire alarm. If it goes off once during an emergency, that's useful. But what if the alarm never turns off? Day after day, week after week, eventually the entire system becomes strained. That's what chronic inflammation looks like inside the body. The immune system stays activated, stress hormones remain elevated, repair processes become less efficient. And over time, this can accelerate aging and contribute to metabolic dysfunction. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Many aspects of modern life continuously push inflammatory pathways higher. Highly processed food, poor sleep, chronic stress, excess body fat, smoking, alcohol, lack of movement, constant blood sugar spikes. Even loneliness and poor recovery can contribute. And this is one reason broccoli sprouts continue to attract scientific attention. Research suggests sulforaphane may help influence inflammatory signaling pathways and oxidative stress responses in ways that support healthier cellular environments. Again, notice the language here. We're not talking about miracles. We're talking about biological support. Think of sulforaphane like lowering the background noise in your body. When inflammation decreases, your systems often work more efficiently. Energy production improves. Recovery improves. Insulin sensitivity may improve. Immune function becomes more balanced. And your body can redirect energy toward repair instead of constant defense. But I want to emphasize something critical. You cannot out-supplement chronic inflammation. You cannot superfood your way out of poor sleep, or extreme stress, or processed food every day. This is why root cause thinking matters. The goal is not finding one magical anti-inflammatory food. The goal is lowering the total inflammatory burden. Here's a simple framework. Ask yourself every day, am I adding fuel to inflammation or reducing it? Reducing inflammation looks like walking after meals, prioritizing sleep, eating protein and fiber, managing stress, strength training, getting sunlight in the morning, eating anti-inflammatory foods consistently, including cruciferous vegetables like broccoli sprouts. Not occasionally, consistently, because the body responds to patterns, not isolated moments. And this brings us to one of the most important practical questions. How much should you actually eat? Do you need supplements? Should you eat broccoli sprouts daily? Can regular broccoli work too? Because health advice becomes useless if it isn't practical. And next, I'm going to give you a realistic daily protocol that actually fits into real life without turning healthy eating into a full-time job. So now let's make this practical. Because information without action rarely changes health. And one of the biggest mistakes people make with nutrition is overcomplicating everything. They assume healthy living requires perfect discipline, expensive supplements, or a complete life overhaul. But most of the time, the biggest results come from simple habits repeated consistently. So let's answer the practical question. How do you actually use broccoli sprouts or sulforaphane-rich foods in real life? First, you do not need huge amounts. More is not always better. In research settings, broccoli sprout intake varies widely, and scientists are still studying ideal amounts for different goals. But for everyday wellness, consistency matters more than extremes. A practical starting point for many people is a small handful of fresh broccoli sprouts several times per week, or even daily if tolerated. Think of it as nutritional insurance, not medicine, not magic, just a supportive habit. Now, if you can't find broccoli sprouts, don't panic. Remember, we're focusing on patterns, not perfection. Other cruciferous vegetables also contain beneficial compounds. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, arugula, radishes, kale, mustard greens. The key is variety, because different plants contain different protective compounds that work together. Think of your plate like an investment portfolio. You wouldn't invest everything into one stock, and your body thrives on diversity too. Now let's talk timing. People often ask, should I eat broccoli sprouts in the morning or at night? Honestly, the best time is the time you'll actually stay consistent. That said, pairing sprouts with meals containing healthy fats may improve nutrient absorption and help support blood sugar stability. Examples could look like this. Breakfast, eggs, olive oil, avocado, and broccoli sprouts. Lunch, salmon salad with pumpkin seeds and sprouts. Dinner, vegetable soup with sprouts added after cooking. Simple. No obsession. No perfectionism. Now what about supplements? This is important. Some people use sulforaphane supplements, and in certain situations they may be helpful. But food first usually makes sense. Why? Because whole foods come packaged with fiber, phytonutrients, minerals, and supportive compounds that work together. Nature rarely delivers nutrients in isolation. And if you are considering supplements, especially if you have a medical condition or history of cancer treatment, it's worth discussing with your healthcare provider, because personalized medicine matters. Now here's the deeper lesson I hope you take away from all of this. The goal isn't becoming afraid of disease. Fear is not health. Empowerment is. The real question becomes, how do I help my body become more resilient? Better sleep, stable blood sugar, strength training, walking, stress reduction, whole foods, cruciferous vegetables, small habits that signal safety and repair to your biology. Because here's something beautiful about the human body. It is constantly trying to heal. Your job is simply to stop overwhelming it. If this video has been helpful so far, consider subscribing, because every day we break down complex health science into practical tools you can actually use to improve your metabolism, energy, and longevity naturally. And before we finish, let's bring all of this together, because I want to leave you with one simple challenge that could genuinely change your health over time. So let's bring this all together. Today we explored an idea that sounds simple on the surface. Could one food help support DNA repair and create an environment less favorable to disease? And what we discovered is something much more powerful than a nutrition headline. Because this conversation was never really about finding a miracle food. It was about understanding how your body actually works. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every single day, your cells face stress, poor sleep, environmental toxins, blood sugar spikes, inflammation, chronic stress hormones. Even normal metabolism creates wear and tear. But at the same time, your body is constantly fighting back, repairing damaged cells, neutralizing oxidative stress, managing inflammation, removing cells that no longer belong. Healing is happening every day, often without you ever noticing. And the choices you make either support those systems or overwhelm them. That's why broccoli sprouts became such an important part of today's conversation. Not because they are magical, not because they cure cancer, but because the science around sulforaphane suggests something incredibly important. Certain foods may help activate your body's own protective pathways, support detoxification systems, help regulate oxidative stress, influence inflammation, and contribute to a healthier internal environment. But remember the bigger lesson. No single food determines your future health. Your environment does. And by environment, I mean the one inside your body. Stable blood sugar, healthy insulin levels, good sleep, movement, strength training, stress management, protein for repair, fiber for metabolic health, and consistent exposure to nutrient-dense foods that work with your biology instead of against it. Think of health like building a house. You don't create strength from one brick. You create strength from repeated actions. One meal, one walk, one better night of sleep. One small habit repeated long enough to matter. That's how transformation really happens. So here's my challenge for you. Don't try to change everything overnight. Instead, choose one action from today's video. Maybe it's adding broccoli sprouts to your meals 3 times this week. Maybe it's reducing processed sugar. Maybe it's walking 10 minutes after dinner. Maybe it's prioritizing sleep. Pick one thing and track how your body responds. Because when you start paying attention, something incredible happens. You stop guessing about your health and start partnering with your biology. And remember this, healthy aging is not about chasing perfection. It's about giving your body better instructions day after day. If this video added value to your life, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every day, we break down the science of metabolism, fat burning, longevity, inflammation, hormones, and natural health in ways that are practical, evidence-based, and actually usable in real life. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever tried broccoli sprouts before? Or is this something you're willing to test for the next 7 days? Leave a comment below. Take care of your body, and it has an incredible way of taking care of you.